Hey everybody, have you considered starting a podcast? We here at Screwball highly recommend Podbean for getting your podcast out to a larger audience. Podbean has given us the opportunity to easily bring you Screwball each and every week on all of your favorite podcast services. Use the link podbean.com/screwball to sign up and save up to 35% annually. You can also use the link podbean.com/pro/screwball to sign up for a business subscription. Happy podcasting. Hey everybody, welcome back to Screwball, a baseball podcast, your home for everything baseball. I'm your host, Mike Lepre, here with my co-host, Frank White.
Hey, how's it going?
This is episode 112 of Screwball, and this week in news is a lot of managerial changes, kind of like we talked about last week with Joe Girardi. We are now going to see, where we actually already saw, another manager named Joe get fired by an MLB team, and we could possibly be seeing another firing coming soon, which has been at least discussed by some news outlets here. But it's been a fairly eventful week in baseball, and let's just start, as we usually do, every episode with our news segment of the show. So the first piece of news I thought was a little bit more on the lighter side, because the next two pieces of news are a little bit on the more downer, side of baseball. But on Saturday night against New York Mets, Angels first baseman Jared Walsh became the third player this season to hit for the cycle. During the course of the eventual 11-6 Angels win, Walsh singled in the third inning, doubled in the fifth, homered in the seventh, and then clinched the cycle with a triple in the eighth. So, third player this season hit for the cycle. Jared Walsh, of all people, who is obviously not known for his speed, but a stadium like that can definitely grant you a triple. Kind of bigger gaps and big down the line there, kind of like how KC is, sometimes a little more favorable for triples.
Well, he center fielder double missed the ball, so I got it.
Oh, okay, well there you go. That'd do it.
His first triple of the year. He only had one triple last year, and against the Mets there, and I was facing him in fantasy, so I watched it. So
yeah, of course.
Pretty impressive, yeah.
Yeah, so congrats to him. Third player with a cycle this year is pretty impressive. Cycles you don't see all that often. Typically, you see at least once a year someone get a cycle. But nonetheless, it's, especially like I said, if it's a guy that's not all that fast, to get a triple is usually, I think the one time Pablo Sandoval even had a triple. He played for the Giants, though, and that park's enormous, so it makes sense. But yeah, congrats to Jared Walsh. A third cycle this year. In all of MLB, not him.
Yeah,
Jesus.
That'd be impressive.
Second piece of news I have here is probably the bigger piece of news. The biggest piece of news since we last recorded is Joe Maddon got fired from the Angels. So, from one nice thing about the Angels to the kind of negative about it. Last week, amidst a long losing streak by the Angels, Joe Maddon was relieved of his managerial duties and replaced by interim manager Phil Nevin. This comes after some disappointing seasons for the Angels, as well as a devastating losing streak that has set the Angels back quite a bit in the standings. So I think we kind of saw this at least looming, or at least a decision to be made by the Angels, because although Joe Maddon has been highly regarded as a manager and has bounced around from really successful teams, and, Angels seemed like a nice fit for him, it just didn't work out, and, the team is, really falling behind, especially in a division where you have the Astros really excelling. So it's they had to make a call, and I think maybe it was the right call. Joe Girardi gets fired the last time we recorded, and now Joe Maddon. So I don't know I don't know the inner workings with a guy like Joe Maddon behind the scenes. I know he's a big clubhouse guy, and he likes to kind of bring a team together. So I don't know, if that just wasn't working and just on the field product just wasn't shaping up. But, I guess it was the right call, because the Angels always tend to have some issue during the year of injuries, or they just underperform, or this or that. So who knows where they go from here, but they're still in kind of a tough spot. So I think overall maybe it was the right call, just to say, hey, we got to change things up. But yeah, Joe Maddon fired by the Angels. The third piece of news here regarding another team and another manager possibly being fired is Tony La Russa for the White Sox. So similarly, like I said, to the Angels and the Phillies, who have both now relieved their managers, the White Sox are really underperforming in 2022 and have not met expectations to this point, really, under La Russa. Well, no doubt he's one of the best to ever do it. Should La Russa really be worried about his current managerial role? I think he should. Truthfully, I think that the White Sox, my pick for the World Series, have really just, with an excellent team. Granted, hurt by injuries, Lance Lynn coming back here just now. Tim Anderson's kind of found his way on the IL. I believe it was Eloy Jimenez is also hurt. was a big bat to the team. Jose Abreu underperforming. So we have all these problems, and obviously the manager is always the one it falls on, no matter really what's going on. So obviously everyone knows there's nothing La Russa really had any points to prove here by joining the White Sox, but maybe it's just not a fit with a young, exciting, new generational team with an old generational mind behind them. But to counter that, you also have Dusty Baker with the Astros, who's an old generational mind. So it can work. It's just maybe La Russa doesn't work for this specific spot. But he has obviously, he hasn't been fired yet, nor do we really have any indication that he would. It's just that they're underperforming, and some news outlets have been reporting on it, so I thought it was at least worth mentioning while all the other teams have kind of, been considering their managerial roles. So I don't know what you're kind of thinking with Tony La Russa there, but
yeah, I mean, I know the organization really respects him, so I'm not sure if they'll pull the trigger there. But I wouldn't also be surprised to see La Russa just resign at this point and not deal with it and just get out of there. So that's something to monitor over the next couple of weeks, see if they get healthy and get on a little run here. Some other piece of news I have here. Are we looking at a possible home run chase with Aaron Judge, 24 home runs through. We're at the middle of June. Are we looking at a home run chase? It's possible. He's got 24. He's on pace for, 60-something at this point?
Yeah.
So it's a possibility. The All-Star voting opened over the past couple of days. So that's something to monitor and get your votes in. Last little bit here is just going to be, our topic for a day. It's going to be a relatively quick one, but, it looks like offense is back. Hitters are finding their swing again. The weather's warmed up. It's been the big key, but hitters getting their swings in, feeling comfortable. Weather warming up. Who knows what they did with the balls? Maybe they switched them back. Who the hell knows? But we see offense back up. And you could just look at that because if you go ask anybody who bet baseball, you could bet the under every game to start the year and you would have won a lot of money. Now you're starting to see people bet the over.
Yeah, right.
But, you see home runs flying. One day we had 57, 58 home runs in a day. You see people hit home runs. You're seeing big innings, big scores. Yankees scored 18 runs the other day. We see, we're just seeing a lot of scoring.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of home runs. Guys driving the ball again. So, is the offense back up? I think, it was down, but I also think that it was just, a little bit of an overreaction sometimes. It started down, but was pitching just ahead of the hitters, the cold weather? Was it, a little bit of everything?
Right.
Maybe it was a new ball. People adjusting to, hey, I actually got to hit the ball instead of just poking it. So small things like that, could make a small adjustments. But I think, offense is slowly creeping back up here. And, I just think that it's not nothing too much to worry about. Yes, it's down, but overall. But, it's still, you're still seeing exciting baseball and people putting the ball in play and game, and runs being scored. So it's not like you're getting 1-0 every game or 2-1. You're seeing a lot of runs scored.
Right. Yeah, and, there's nothing wrong with a little bit of good pitching here and there. Or even, pitchers' duels. It's just that it was becoming such a noticeable problem that the pitchers were just dominating so much. It was like, are we entering a new era of baseball where the pitchers are really dominant? Is it just early in the season? Is it, just, again, new generational thing where you see so many different pitchers with so many, different pitches? But, yeah, the hitting has bounced back, which it makes sense because weather's warmer, ball flies a little better. You have guys that were a little cold and, a little lack of more spring training. They're finally finding their swing. Maybe pitchers' arms, they weren't quite as fresh as they were coming into the season. Maybe there's hitters that are seeing pitchers more than once now. So you're starting to see, if you've played a team like 10 times already in a divisional team, you've already seen these pitchers a few times. You kind of already know how the scouting report and your approach and this and that. So I think that all plays into it. Maybe there is something with the baseball. I haven't really seen anything there because I think the balls are still flying relatively normally. I just think that guys are just finding their stroke and they're just hitting the ball better. And I think that, with a lot of teams, or it could have just been by coincidence that all these guys just started cold. They just weren't ready to go. And then all of a sudden they just, law of averages, they kind of find their way. Even a guy like Joey Gallo who I'm just not a fan of. Even he's found his way to climb his average back up about 40 points. So
170.
to a guy for a guy that really is not an average guy at all. I mean, he hits 200, you're happy. So
I think offense is just it's not the it's not a dead ball era. It's changing. It's getting back up there. Shifts will eventually go away here too, and that'll help. But we're seeing the ball put back in play, some strikeouts, and things like that. But it's getting hit. The ball's getting driven into the gaps. You're seeing guys like Votto who are batting 110 before an injury or before COVID. Guys like that starting to heat back up. But also, you are seeing there is a lot of dominant pitchers in baseball. Now,
there
I don't know
is.
if that's considered because offense is maybe down, or offense is one dimensional, or if that's just we have dominant pitching. But we have some dominant pitchers, and then again, everybody throwing 100. Any pitcher, you face 8 guys a night.
Right.
So things like that. But I think offense is climbing back up there, and you're starting to see the higher scoring games, the warm weather, feeling in the groove of things. The season's on. You're in June. It's time to start looking at the playoffs and things like that. So I think offense is climbing up, and you're starting to see more balls in play and home runs and things like that.
Yeah, it's nice too because I like pitchers duels personally. I like when it's 1-1 or 1-2. It's just such a tense game. And really, if you're MLB, you kind of like those games because they're quicker. There's less action, but they're quicker, and they just love any game that's under 3 hours. So, but at the end of the day, the fans want more scoring. You don't need every game to be 20-19, but you have a nice healthy game that's 5-6 or 5-4 or something like that. That's a healthy baseball game, in my opinion. You're starting to see that a little more. There's less 1-0 games or 2-1 games or 3-2 or something like that. So there seems to be healthy scoring, and maybe we're going to find a nice balance this season where you still have the pitchers that have like a 2-something ERA and are striking a lot of guys out, but you also have an Aaron Judge who has 24 home runs, which is nice. You had Mookie Betts was hitting really well for a while, guys like that. So I think that if we find a nice balance with the offense, I think that can only help. And I would think most people would have noticed a little bump in offense, and you could probably attribute that to a lot of things, kind of like I said before. So I don't think it's just one thing. I think there's just a multitude of factors that happen throughout a season. And like I said, it could have just been a little bit of a coincidence. Guys just weren't ready, and that just kind of is what it is. But we're hitting the time now. Like we've kind of said for a few weeks here, there's a lot of teams that got to find their way, and a lot of players got to find their way, or else they're going to be on the chopping block for the trade deadline. Or teams could find themselves in a bad spot if a guy's not hitting great. Now all of a sudden offense is picking up and there's still a guy that's behind that really, can set a team back. A winning team can set a winning team back. So, hopefully we see more offense and hopefully the ball finds its way out of the yard a little bit more often, not quite juiced ball 2019 time, where you have the Twins breaking the single season home run record up and down the field. But yeah, I don't mind a little more offense. I don't think anyone does. But with that, let's move on to the wrap-up section of the show, or the news, and that is the who's doing the best right now. So the Yankees are still the best team in the league at 44-16, while the Astros have the second best record in the American League at 37-23. Over in the NL, the Mets have the best record at 40-22, while the next best team in the NL is the Dodgers also at 37-23, like the Astros. For once, it's not the Dodgers, the best run differential in the league, it's the Yankees. So the Yankees own the best run differential at plus 127, and the Royals still own the worst at minus 88. The Royals are just not having a great time this year. And for a team that really, and I forget exactly how I predicted them, but I remember kind of coming in like, well, they got promise. They have Salvador Perez, who just broke the catcher home run record, and Bobby Witt Jr. and Andrew Benintendi, and you have these guys who, Whit Merrifield, that can really hit the ball. And, so you think at least the offense would cross out their bad pitching. I know we've kind of gone over this, but it's just, when you have teams like the Orioles and the Pirates and they're finding their way, it's hard to believe the Royals ain't. It's just, to me, it's strange.
And the Reds don't have the worst record in baseball either. Everyone talked about how bad they were. They
oh,
were
my
bad,
God.
and they are not even I don't think they're third or fourth worst team record-wise anymore.
No.
So.
No, they're like in fourth in their own division or something. I don't even think they're the worst.
Yeah. So some other teams I got here to mention on my hot cold list here: the Yankees, Red Sox, Cleveland, Braves, Phillies, Marlins, and Padres all playing well of late. Some cold teams: the A's, Angels, Brewers, Cubs, Pirates, and Dodgers. They've been on some colder streaks here, a couple losing streaks. Angels had a big one. Cubs, I think, lost 6 in a row. I think Pirates lost 6 in a row. And Dodgers, they just got swept, to the Giants. So
Yep.
some cold streaks there. So those are some of the teams I wanted to mention here on the hot and cold list that I had.
Okay. Yeah. As far as the hot and cold teams go, for who's hot and who's not for the players of the week, I should say. I don't have the AL Player of the Week, Byron Buxton. I think he batted around 333. He had a lot of home runs. I don't have him on here. I just didn't think he was quite the hottest hitter. And I believe the NL was for the Reds, Hunter Green.
Yeah.
Correct? I believe he won it. So obviously I don't have him, but I'm sure Frank has him listed as well. But the hot hitters I have for the week are Yordan Alvarez again. I believe he was on our list last week. He again batted 526 for the week. 789 slugging and a 1334 OPS. Dude is just making the Astros happy with that contract. He's just hitting absolutely insane. Number 2, Bobby Witt Jr. batted 476 over the last week with a 762 slugging and a 1334 OPS. Could this finally be his coming out party as far as like a real big major league hitter, or kind of what they projected him to be? Maybe. Number 3, Brian Reynolds. Batted 478 over the last week with a 783 slugging and a 1241 OPS. He's finally starting to wake up. Number 4, Jorge Polanco. Batted 429 over the last week with a 667 slugging and an 1187 OPS. And finally, Jake Berger. Batted 417 over the last week with an 875 slugging and a 1356 OPS. He's been kind of a nice surprise over the last few weeks for the White Sox. For a team that's really underperforming, maybe a nice young bat, kind of like they had with Yerman Mercedes last year, kind of get him up and going. So, they're pretty good.
Yeah. Some other guys here I want to mention on the hot list here. Christian Yelich, been hitting pretty good over the last 7 days or so. Maybe he can get going. Try getting back to his MVP days, because it's been like 2.5 years of just not playing good. And Oscar Gonzalez. It is a name that you don't expect to be on the list, but he hitting well. I think he was batting about 400 for the week.
Hey.
So, had a good week over here. Some pitchers. You mentioned Hunter Green already. Paul Blackburn, pitched good for the A's. I believe he went 8 innings and ended up losing the game. Sandy Alcantara's been red hot for weeks now. John Heisley had a great start here. Robbie Ray had 7 innings the other day. And Kenley Jensen, I believe, had 4 saves over the last week for the Braves.
Cool. Yeah, definitely some hot pitchers there. I thought Kenley Jansen, too, was having some struggles, too, lately, wasn't he? And he kind of
Up
came
and down throughout the year, but
yeah, that's kind of what he does.
ever since their hot streak here, this last week he had 4 innings and 4 saves pitched.
Yeah.
Runs, so
I mean, you know, if you're playing good and you're on a hot streak, you expect your closer to kind of be on the same page as everyone else, not blowing games for you. So, so that's good. The cold guys I have this week are number 1, Mookie Betts, batted 077 last week with an 077 slugging and 188 OPS. I believe after last week he was red hot for a little bit, so definitely cooled off. Number 2, Luis Urias, batted 095 over the last week with a 238 slugging and a 446 OPS. Number 3, Pavin Smith, batted 095 over the last week with a 238 slugging and a 446 OPS, same as Luis Urias. Number 4, Corey Seager, still not playing really up to snuff for the Rangers here. Batted 115 over the last week with a 231 slugging and a 403 OPS. And finally, number 5, Hunter Renfroe. He batted 125 over the last week with a 250 slugging and a 375 OPS. So, guy that I think has been pretty good for the Brewers in this past little half year here, almost. So he finds his way on the cold list. Like I said, I think he's been a pretty good offensive, production for the Brewers there.
Yeah, definitely won that trade.
That's
For
right,
Jack
exactly.
Bradley, yeah. So some of the guys I got here: Alec Boehm, struggling of late. Justin Turner, he kind of was hot there for a couple of weeks. Now he's cooling back down. And Jesse Winker, another one who was kind of starting to turn things around, but he had a cold week here of late. So there's some other hitters there I just wanted to mention. Some pitchers that have been struggling of late. Jose Quintana got beat up a little bit his last start. Keegan Thompson for the Cubs gave a bunch of runs to the Yankees yesterday. Eric Lauer for the Brewers. The Brewers pitching has not been the same this year, and their offense has not gotten going, which hasn't gotten going in years. But now their pitching starting to struggle. You can start seeing them faltering here of late. They lost first place in the division here of late. Screwball got beat up a little bit yesterday, and Chris Bassett over the last couple starts for him has been, not pitching that great.
Yeah, and for in regards to Chris Bassett, like a Mets team has 40 wins. I mean, they're to weather that storm and have Max Scherzer hurt and have DeGrom, hurt. It's pretty good when you're kind of making it work.
Yeah.
So, but in my opinion, that's the Buck Showalter effect. I think that there's just a different air to the team. You bring him over. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's just how it goes though. Even with the good teams, you get guys like that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's just how it goes for sure. The next segment here I got is the injuries. I would say the injury list in total, good and bad. I would say the list is just longer in total. We have Danny Jansen for the Blue Jays placed in the IL, which led to prospect Gabriel Moreno being called up, one of the top catching prospects. Urias for Baltimore placed in the IL. Kittredge, we mentioned last week, he's getting Tommy John, so he's done for the year. Nathan Eovaldi placed in the IL, I believe with back spasms. Casey Mize, who's been out pretty much all year, if not all year, is getting Tommy John. Royce Lewis got ACL surgery in his knee again.
Yep.
It's a tough break there. Yasmani Grandal placed in the IL. Michael Kopech left his last start after 2 outs. I'm not sure where if he's going on the IL or not. He's been Cy Young candidate at this point. We have Corey Knebel. Had some arm issues here. He's day to day. He did throw the other day, so they're hoping he should be available here the next day or two. Seiya Suzuki placed in the IL, and he is still suffering some swelling in his fingers. Tyler Stevenson, broken bone in his hand. He's out 4 to 6 weeks, I believe. It's a tough break. Catcher batting 300, doing very good this year, and really was pretty good last year. And Walker Buehler placed in the IL with forearm strain, I believe, and he's not throwing for 8 to 10 weeks, I believe. So
yeah, that one hurts,
and that makes sense why he's been struggling of late. But
right.
Yeah, Buehler, you're not going to see him again until probably August, September at this point.
And that's if it's forearm strain doesn't lead to
and if he recovers right. So those are some relatively big names and some bigger injuries on that side of the injury list.
Right.
On the good side, I feel like it's a pretty longer part on the good side, which is good. Wander Franco's supposed to do some agility drills. He should be back here pretty soon, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Gleyber Torres, he was pulled for, I believe, he was sick, wasn't feeling that great. They're expecting him to recover here, probably play tomorrow. Jose Trevino had some back spasms. He should be back in the lineup in the next day or two, if not already. We have Franmil Reyes was starting a rehab assignment for Cleveland, so he should be back. Amir Garrett activated off the IL. Chris Sale through the live hitters. He should be continuing his throwing. He should be back here. That's what they're saying by July. If not, right after the All-Star break, he'll be back. We have Tim Anderson starting rehab assignment games. Big parts of the White Sox. You get him back. Ken Giles, we haven't seen him in a couple of years. He's supposed to be back here. He's doing a rehab assignment, continuing that. So the hope is he'll be back here in the next week or two.
Okay.
Mike Soroka continues throwing. He's still progressing. He's feeling pretty good, which is good. Matzik for the Braves, feeling pretty good. Hoping to have him back soon. DeGrom through another bullpen session. They're hoping, at best case, end of June. You're probably looking more July, probably after the All-Star break, if everything holds up well. Max Scherzer throwing, and they're hoping he should be back pretty similar time frame. Jack Flaherty's pitching great in his rehab. He's expected to throw one more rehab, at least 75 pitches. Then he could be back for the Cardinals, which is a big, big help for them.
Mm-hmm.
Kershaw was activated the other day. He pitched, so he's back. Anthony DeSclafani starting a rehab assignment. He should be back here hopefully in the next week or two. Tatis was doing some on-field drills. He's starting to progress. He could be swinging soon full time. And then the hope is he'll be back here probably within the next month. Chris Bryant, he's hoping to ramp up activities from the second back injury he's had this year. So, we could see him back in the next couple of weeks. And Lance Lynn was activated today, and he was pitching today. So, that's another big piece for the White Sox. So, on the good side of things, there's a lot of names, a lot of big names, and a lot of good news. So, other side of it was some good names and some bigger injuries, but the good side of injuries, having people come back, it was a even longer list and some big names. So, you take the good with the bad. But, we're starting to see some of these guys come back and some of these big names that we haven't seen yet this year. DeGrom, Flaherty, Sale, Soroka, Ken Giles, Tatis. I mean, there's updates on these guys, which is good.
Yeah. There's, it's a long list on both sides. It's kind of hard to say it's good, but there's some good stuff in there.
There's a lot of all-stars there on the return list or on the good side of things.
Yeah.
Lots of them. Some super all-stars and some guys who can make runs at, Hall of Fame careers on that list. So you like to see them come back.
Yeah, and definitely help teams out. There's some guys on there that could certainly help a playoff push, So That's good. It sucks that some guys, like Royce Lewis, I believe it's his second ACL
Yeah, in
surgery.
2 years, I believe.
You know, Walker Bueller might be looking at Tommy John, God forbid, if that forearm strain goes the wrong way. And who was it else that got Tommy John?
Kittredge.
Andrew
For the
Kittredge.
Rays, who's been out of the bullpen doing pretty well.
And he'd been big for them. So I mean, it's tough. Stuff like that is tough.
Yeah.
But at least you got some guys coming back. So kind of like you said, it just kind of weighs it out, good and bad.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Yeah, for sure. Injuries are just how it goes. You just hope that they're not too serious, and you can come back. But we'll see with some of them.
Yeah, definitely.
And the last bit I got here is our trivia question for the week. We did talk about some runs and offense coming back, so I just wanted to keep it somewhat similar to that. So the trivia question is, the 1931 Yankees hold the record with 1,067 runs scored in a single season. There's only been 7 teams to score at least 1,000 runs in a single season. Which team was the last one to do it? So the answer is the 1999 Cleveland Indians had 1,009 runs scored. And that makes sense when you think about it, because that team had Albert Bell and Jim Thome, Manny Ramirez, Lofton, Sandy, and Roberto Alomar, Vizquel.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was guys in that team that were just
The whole lineup up and down was nuts.
mashing the ball, yeah. So, yeah, the team before that to do it, I think, was like the 1950s, 52 or 56 Red Sox or something like that.
Mm.
So it was a long gap. There's only 7 teams that ever do it.
Right.
From 1931 to 2021. Completed seasons at this point, because 22 is not completed yet.
Right.
Only 7 teams have done it.
Mm.
So, again, the 1931 Yankees hold the record with 1,067 runs scored in a single season. What team was the last team to do it? And the answer is 1999 Cleveland Indians with 1,009 runs scored. So,
Yeah,
with
I mean,
us talking about offense coming back, and some teams like the Yankees scoring a bunch of runs, and the Dodgers score a bunch of runs, and the Mets even score a bunch of runs here. Do we have a team that could possibly score 1,000 runs? We have a shot.
mm-hmm.
I definitely think we have a shot at a team scoring 1,000 runs being right there. But obviously, we'll have to wait and see until September rolls around, and then you go, oh, they need 30 runs in the next 3 games, they need this and that, and then you can start adding up. But there's a possibility we see the 8th team score 1,000 runs in MLB history.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I'm surprised we didn't see it, first of all, during the Juice Ball era. Those, like 2019, 2018, like those years. 2017 even, I think. And I'm surprised there weren't more steroid era teams on there, because there were some teams that had just insane offense. It's just surprising that, and especially of all those teams in the steroid era, was the Indians. I mean, it makes sense because they had such a potent lineup. But you think, the Yankees had a dynasty in that time. The Braves had a dynasty at that time. Teams like that you'd think would kind of find their way in there, but that's kind of cool. I don't think that's as easy of a trivia question as it may seem.
Yeah.
Obviously steroid era, that's your first go-to thought. But, yeah, that's a good one for sure. They definitely weren't first on my list. I named 1,000 teams before I named them.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely a good one. But that's kind of all I have for this episode. Kind of a shorter one here. There's really still not too much going on. Like I said, more of the firings kind of happening. You see some managerial changes, teams realizing that they need to make some changes if they want to make a playoff push. Around other sports, I believe the Stanley Cup final is set with the Lightning and the Avalanche.
Yep.
The Rangers, team around here, they had their fight, with the Lightning, and the Lightning were, the favors there. They still made it to Game 6. I believe the Oilers were swept out. They didn't even really have a chance. So you have the Stanley Cup final coming up, and the NBA finals, I believe, are tied. Or
Game 5 today.
Yeah, so
Warriors, Celtics.
Yeah, so that's huge as well. It's now a 3-game series essentially, if you want to look at it that way. So that's very exciting. Basketball is really winding down if they only have 3 games left. Hockey, Stanley Cup final, can go 7 at most, and that's up for their season. And kind of like we said last season, baseball's going to be in full swing, and it'll be the only real major sport on in America coming soon. So exciting time in sports. And then after that, you have, say the All-Star break comes and goes, and then you have, training camp for football. So, whole bunch of cool sports stuff coming up.
Yeah, definitely a lot going on here. Baseball, we should have some more exciting news here pretty shortly. Like, the All-Star voting opens, so there's going to be news there. And teams going to make some moves here, start making some rumors about teams and players they want. if this guy comes back from injury, do we need to get this guy? If this guy comes back, do we need to make a move? So things like that are gonna start happening here soon. So it's really gonna get exciting. More prospects getting called up, people getting sent down. So there's gonna be a lot of moves coming up here soon. So we're only really that could start any time, but we're really only about 2 weeks away from that really taking shape. We'll see what happens, but we're a lot going on in baseball, and teams on winning streaks and losing streaks that could turn their whole season at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. You saw with the Angels. I mean, they really made it hard on themselves. Now, you know what I mean. They were a team that was really set up, and now it's going to be quite a climb to get back into. Wild card may not be too crazy, but they didn't make life easy on themselves. That's for damn sure.
No, we've seen the Phillies climb back into things too.
Yeah.
And Atlanta, red hot.
Oh so, yeah. So you never know.
Yeah. And the last little bit, last little thing I got here is we'll have Father's Day is this weekend, this Sunday. So I'd like to wish everybody a happy Father's Day and enjoy their weekend. But yeah, we have that this weekend, so that's pretty cool. And they always do a lot of big things in baseball around Father's Day and Father's Day weekend. So we're excited to see those things.
Yeah. Happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, or fathers to be. I believe baseball kind of like Mother's Day. They have the blue bats and cleats and gloves and kind of that theme going around baseball. So that's always cool. Same thing with Mother's Day. They have the pink. So yeah, again, happy Father's Day to all the fathers or fathers to be out there, and enjoy it. Enjoy however the hell you want to, watching baseball or eating food or just, who knows, just sitting on the couch is sometimes how fathers just want to spend their Father's Day. But yeah, that's kind of all I have for this episode. That's all the notes I have. So unless you have any final notes or anything there, you can just, if you want to wrap this up.
Yeah, that's all I got. That's all I got.
All right. Well, thank you guys for listening. You can catch this podcast on Apple Podcasts as well as Google Podcasts and Spotify. You can listen on our regularly updated YouTube channel as well as our website, screwball.podbean.com. You can follow me on Twitter at @RealMikeLepre. You can follow me on Instagram at Mike Lepre.
You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at FDubs10.
You can follow our official Screwball Twitter at ScrewballPod. You can follow our official Screwball Facebook at ScrewballPod. No E in Screw. And that's it from us, guys. We'll see you next week.
Yep. Take care.